The tennis world is desperately trying to hide the truth about what really happened this summer. How does an unseeded 21-year-old Filipina suddenly obliterate the most elite, heavily funded players on the planet? Was Alex Eala's unprecedented 7-match winning streak a sheer miracle? Or is there a darker, untold story behind her sudden explosion onto the scene? Whispers of locker room controversies, unbelievable physical endurance that defies human limits, and secret tactical advantages have left the entire sporting establishment completely stunned. No one saw this coming, and the WTA top brass is scrambling for answers. Before we expose the shocking reality of her historic run from Washington to Toronto, you need to hear the full story they aren't telling you on the mainstream broadcasts. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to our channel right now, because what we uncover today will change how you view professional tennis forever. The summer hard-court swing in North America always carries a distinct electric energy, but for 21-year-old Alex Eala, the stakes felt entirely different as she stepped onto the sun-baked courts of Washington, D.C. Arriving at the prestigious Mubadala City DC Open, the rising Filipina star carried the weight of national expectations and the burning desire to finally capture her elusive first WTA Tour singles title. Ranked 28th in the world at the start of the week, she was already a known prodigy, yet the upper echelon of women's tennis still viewed her as a promising challenger rather than an established conqueror. The tournament was packed with veteran champions and top-seeded threats, making the draw incredibly unforgiving. For Eala, however, the nation's capital represented a golden opportunity to shift the narrative. Surrounded by the historic monuments of Washington, she was ready to build a monument of her own on the hard courts. The air was thick with the suffocating August humidity, but the young athlete remained completely laser-focused, unaware that this very week would permanently alter the trajectory of her professional career and send shockwaves throughout the global sports community. Her journey toward tennis immortality began with what many considered an insurmountable opening hurdle against Zheng Qinwen, the unstoppable force who had just captured the women's singles gold medal at the Paris Olympics. Fresh off her triumphant run in Europe, the Chinese powerhouse stepped onto the court, radiating absolute confidence, heavily favored to dispatch the younger challenger with her signature aggressive baseline game. Zheng Qinwen quickly imposed her will, utilizing her booming serve and heavy topspin forehands to immediately put the Filipina on the defensive. However, Alex Eala refused to fold under the immense pressure of playing a freshly crowned Olympic champion. In a stunning display of tactical brilliance and sheer willpower, she orchestrated a breathtaking comeback that left the packed stadium in absolute awe. By absorbing the blistering pace and redirecting the ball into deep, uncomfortable corners, she slowly dismantled her opponent's powerful rhythm. The historic opening round upset sent an immediate warning shot across the entire locker room, proving that the 21-year-old possessed not only the physical tools but the extraordinary mental fortitude required to dismantle the very best players in the world. That monumental opening victory over an Olympic champion acted as a potent catalyst, igniting a spectacular wave of momentum that carried Alex Eala through the grueling middle rounds of the Mubadala City DC Open. With every passing match, her supreme confidence seemed to visibly multiply, transforming her from a hopeful underdog into a formidable juggernaut. The massive, deeply passionate Filipino community in Washington, D.C. quickly caught wind of her magical run, turning the typically polite tennis stands into a roaring sea of national pride and vibrant colors. Fed by the relentless cheers of her devoted fans, she systematically dismantled a gauntlet of elite competitors, displaying a beautifully versatile game that blended precise slice backhands with blistering offensive strikes down the line. Her path to the championship match was nothing short of a spectacular highlight reel, showcasing her profound evolution from a talented junior into a hardened tour veteran. By the time the weekend arrived, she had successfully navigated one of the toughest draws of the entire season to secure her well-deserved spot in a blockbuster Sunday final. Waiting for her across the net would be the beloved hometown favorite and the formidable world number 3, Jessica Pegula. The championship Sunday arrived with thick, ominous clouds gathering over Washington, D.C., setting a highly dramatic stage for the ultimate showdown between the rising Filipina and the seasoned American superstar. Jessica Pegula, renowned for her incredibly clean ball striking and tactical consistency, immediately showcased why she held a firm grip on the world's top 3 rankings. The American veteran capitalized on early nerves, breaking serve, and leaning heavily into the roaring support of her home country crowd to secure the intensely physical first set with a score of 6-4. Eala found herself in a precarious position early in the second set, trailing 1-2 when the turbulent skies finally ripped open. Heavy rain and dangerous lightning forced the tournament officials to completely suspend the match, abruptly pausing the gladiatorial combat and forcing both women into an agonizing overnight wait. For a young player seeking her maiden title, trying to sleep while trailing a top-seeded champion could have been a psychologically devastating experience. Instead of succumbing to the crushing anxiety of the looming deficit, the 21-year-old used the unexpected rain delay to completely reset her tactical game plan and mentally visualize the incredible comeback that awaited her on Monday afternoon. When the fierce competitors returned to the freshly dried courts under the blazing midday sun on Monday, Eala unleashed a spectacular level of tennis that will be permanently etched into the history books. She immediately erased the dangerous deficit in the second set, completely overwhelming Jessica Pegula with aggressive, surgically precise ground strokes and a flawless first serve performance to claim the set 6-4. Riding an unstoppable wave of adrenaline, the Filipina sensation absolutely dominated the decisive final set, delivering a flawless 6-0 masterclass that completely neutralized the world number 3. As the final American return sailed wide, a tearful Eala dropped her racket in sheer disbelief, officially cementing her status as the first tennis player from the Philippines to ever win a WTA Tour singles title. During her deeply emotional trophy presentation, she stood in the center of the stadium and offered profound gratitude to the colossal crowd of Filipino fans who had carried her through the darkest moments of the final. The historic championship victory in Washington, D.C. not only secured her long-awaited maiden trophy, but guaranteed her a highly coveted debut inside the world's top 20 rankings. Barely having a moment to process the sheer magnitude of her historic championship victory in the United States, Eala immediately packed her bags and traveled north to Canada for the highly anticipated National Bank Open. Stepping onto the sprawling hard courts of the prestigious WTA 1000 event in Toronto, the 21-year-old was no longer just a promising contender, but a newly minted title holder, carrying a massive target on her back. Yet, instead of feeling overwhelmed by the sudden surge in expectations and intense media scrutiny, she was instantly embraced by a welcoming atmosphere that felt remarkably like her own backyard. A cultural phenomenon quickly dubbed Eala Mania swept through the bustling city as the massive local Filipino community arrived in absolute droves to support their brightest sporting star. The vibrant sea of red, blue, and yellow flags completely transformed the usually reserved tennis venue into a raucous, fiercely loyal fortress. Every single one of her practice sessions drew hundreds of passionate spectators, and her match courts were absolutely packed to the rafters with fans relentlessly chanting her name. For a young woman competing thousands of miles away from her birthplace, the thunderous roar of the Toronto crowd provided an incredible emotional anchor that would prove absolutely vital in the grueling, high-stakes battles that awaited her. Riding the crest of a massive confidence wave, the Filipina sensation wasted absolutely no time asserting her newfound dominance in the early rounds of the Canadian tournament. The incredibly quick turnaround from her previous title run meant she had almost zero physical recovery time, but pure adrenaline and the roaring support of the stadium pushed her right through any lingering muscular fatigue. Her opening round clash against American powerhouse Alicia Parks showcased a player operating at the absolute peak of her powers. Eala effortlessly dictated the intense rallies from the baseline, absorbing her opponent's massive serves and executing devastating passing shots that left the crowd completely speechless. The sheer power and pinpoint accuracy of her aggressive ground strokes proved entirely too much for her early challengers, allowing her to seamlessly navigate the opening hurdles and keep her miraculous undefeated streak alive. Veteran tennis analysts and international commentators quickly noted a profound psychological shift in her on-court demeanor. The occasionally nervous competitor of previous seasons had been completely replaced by a ruthless, calculating athlete who truly believed she belonged among the sport's absolute elite. She was no longer hoping to simply survive the grueling opening days of a major tournament. She was actively hunting for decisive victories with a fierce predator's instinct, remaining completely unfazed by the heavy media spotlight, tracking her every single move. The ultimate test of her physical durability and mental endurance arrived under the glaring stadium lights on Friday night, perfectly setting the stage for a highly dramatic third-round showdown. Standing across the net was Katie McNally, a fiercely competitive American opponent, widely respected for her incredibly crafty net play and relentless fighting spirit. From the very first thundering serve, the absolutely packed center court crowd created a deafening electric atmosphere, frantically waving flags and erupting into massive cheers after every single point the Filipina secured. Feeding directly off this intense, concert-like energy, Eala overcame a slightly sluggish start and an early break deficit to completely dominate the latter half of the opening set. She masterfully utilized her heavy topspin forehand to aggressively pin the American deep behind the baseline, eventually securing a crucial service break to confidently close out the first frame with a score of 6-3. However, the seasoned American challenger absolutely refused to quietly surrender the match. The second set quickly devolved into a brutal, highly tactical trench warfare, with both women aggressively trading heavy blows and exchanging multiple service breaks in a desperate, exhausting tug-of-war for ultimate momentum. Just as the 21-year-old seemed perfectly positioned to serve out the match and secure a routine straight sets victory, a terrifying physical setback suddenly threatened to derail her entire magical run. While desperately scrambling to retrieve a perfectly placed, angled shot during the absolute most critical juncture of the fiercely contested second set, Eala planted her foot awkwardly and violently rolled her right ankle. A collective gasp of sheer horror echoed throughout the massive stadium as the rising star suddenly crumpled to the unforgiving hard court, clutching her leg in highly visible agony. The intense match was instantly halted as the tournament medical staff rushed out to meticulously examine the painful injury, heavily wrapping her rapidly swelling ankle in thick white tape, while the deeply anxious crowd watched in absolute terrifying silence. The sheer physical trauma and the lengthy medical timeout completely derailed her hard-earned momentum, ultimately allowing a completely revitalized Katie McNally to mount a spectacular late-stage comeback. The American boldly snatched 3 consecutive games right out of the Filipina's hands to steal the second set 7-5 and force a highly unpredictable deciding set. For a brief, agonizing moment, it genuinely looked as though the young champion's historic winning streak would come to a highly tragic and incredibly painful conclusion right there on the Toronto cement. The sharp, relentless shooting pain in her leg severely limited her normally explosive lateral movement, forcing her to rely heavily on pure upper body strength, perfectly timed anticipation, and sheer competitive grit just to keep the heavy ball in play. Refusing to let a twisted ankle dictate her destiny, Eala hobbled back up to the baseline for the final set, with an absolute fire burning in her eyes. Stripped of her ability to comfortably run down every single ball, she completely shifted her tactical approach, aggressively attacking the American serve and attempting to shorten the grueling points at every available opportunity. This high-risk, high-reward strategy paid off immediately as she brilliantly secured a crucial break of serve in the very first game of the third set to build an insurmountable 2-0 lead. Fighting through waves of exhaustion and searing physical pain, she stubbornly protected that razor-thin advantage for the remainder of the grinding 2-hour and 39-minute marathon. When her opponent's final desperate forehand sailed wide of the alley, the Filipina let out a massive roar of pure, unadulterated relief, officially sealing the gritty 6-4 final set victory. This incredibly courageous triumph not only marked her astonishing 7th consecutive match win since her Washington campaign, but officially catapulted her directly into the world's elite, top 20 rankings for the very first time. The monumental milestone firmly solidified her rapidly growing legacy, proving to the entire sporting world that her recent championship was not a lucky fluke, but the grand arrival of a generational talent who possessed the unbreakable heart of a true champion. The grand reward for surviving that agonizing third-round thriller was a highly anticipated round of 16 showdown against one of the most fundamentally sound and tactically astute players on the entire professional circuit. Waiting for Eala was none other than Belinda Bencic, the incredibly decorated Swiss veteran who had famously captured the women's singles gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Entering the highly publicized matchup, the 14th ranked player in the world brought years of invaluable big match experience and an aggressive, early striking game style perfectly suited for the fast North American hard courts. The narrative surrounding the clash was completely enthralling, pitting a rising young champion riding a historic 7-match winning streak against a seasoned superstar determined to halt her incredible momentum. However, behind the intense media hype and the roaring crowds, a harsh physical reality was rapidly setting in for the 21-year-old Filipina sensation. When she finally walked out onto the sun-drenched center court on Monday morning, her right ankle was heavily wrapped in thick white athletic tape, serving as a stark visual reminder of the brutal toll her recent heroics had taken. She was no longer just battling a world-class opponent across the net. She was actively fighting against her own exhausted body after 2 relentless weeks of high-stakes pressure cooker tennis. Despite the glaring physical limitations, the opening stages of the high-profile match showcased an absolute masterclass in sheer competitive willpower from the young Asian trailblazer. Eala stubbornly refused to let her compromised movement dictate the early narrative, stepping aggressively inside the baseline and attempting to take the ball exceptionally early to rob the Swiss veteran of precious reaction time. The first set quickly evolved into a mesmerizing, high-quality chess match between 2 brilliant tactical minds. Belinda Bencic continuously tried to exploit the Filipina's injured ankle by hitting sharp, angled ground strokes to the extreme outer edges of the court, actively forcing her younger opponent into agonizing lateral sprints. Yet, utilizing brilliant anticipation and raw upper body power, the 21-year-old miraculously found ways to not just retrieve the wide balls but actually counterattack with stunning precision. The highly enthusiastic Toronto crowd roared in absolute delight as the 2 warriors traded blistering baseline blows, resulting in a tense, back-and-forth affair that saw both women fiercely protecting their service games and refusing to surrender an inch of valuable territory. As the fiercely contested first set pushed deeper into the crucial late stages, the immense physical strain of the grueling schedule finally began to crack the young champion's heavily fortified armor. Hanging on tightly at 4 games apiece, Eala found herself facing a relentless barrage of incredibly deep, punishing returns from the seasoned Swiss powerhouse. Belinda Bencic, expertly sensing a slight dip in her opponent's explosive lateral quickness, aggressively stepped up her offensive aggression and began dictating the exhausting rallies with absolute ruthless efficiency. The crucial turning point arrived when the Filipina's usually reliable first serve briefly abandoned her under the intense pressure, allowing the former Olympic gold medalist to secure the absolutely vital break of serve she desperately needed. Serving for the set at 5-4, the 14th ranked player in the world showcased exactly why she had spent over a decade at the absolute pinnacle of women's tennis. Delivering a flawless sequence of perfectly placed unreturnable serves, the veteran calmly and professionally closed out the intensely competitive opening frame with a score of 6-4. The narrow loss of the incredibly tight first set felt like a massive emotional blow for the heavily taped 21-year-old, who had expended an astronomical amount of energy just to keep the contest absolutely even. The brief changeover between sets offered no real physical sanctuary for the visibly exhausted Filipina, and the second set quickly devolved into a harsh, uncompromising reality check regarding the brutal demands of professional tennis. With the crucial momentum now firmly in her absolute grasp, Belinda Bencic mercilessly stepped on the gas pedal and launched a relentless, suffocating offensive assault that the compromised young star simply could not physically answer. Eala valiantly attempted to swing freely and aggressively shorten the points, but her tired legs completely lost their explosive spring, causing her unforced errors to rapidly multiply under the suffocating pressure. The Swiss veteran systematically dismantled the remaining defenses with surgical precision, effortlessly painting the crisp white lines and cruising through her service games without facing any meaningful resistance. The raucous energy that had previously fueled the massive local crowd slowly dissolved into a highly respectful, sympathetic applause as everyone inside the stadium collectively realized the miraculous run had finally reached its ultimate physical limit. In a shockingly rapid conclusion to what had started as a brilliant tactical duel, the former Olympic champion secured 3 consecutive service breaks to deliver a devastating 6-0 final set, officially bringing the highly dramatic match to an abrupt and completely decisive end. While the straight sets defeat at the prestigious Canadian Open officially halted her breathtaking 7-match winning streak, the incredible 2-week journey had already permanently altered the overall landscape of women's professional tennis. Walking off the massive stadium court to a roaring, highly emotional standing ovation, Eala held her head incredibly high, fully recognizing the sheer magnitude of what she had just accomplished over the past 14 days. She had successfully conquered a legendary Olympic champion, captured her highly coveted maiden tour-level title in the nation's capital, and fearlessly battled her way into the world's top 20 rankings while severely hobbled by a painful injury. The ultimate loss to Belinda Bencic served not as a disappointing failure, but rather as an incredibly valuable learning experience for a young athlete still discovering the absolute limits of her immense potential. Now, with a well-deserved opportunity to finally rest her battered body and properly rehabilitate her heavily taped ankle, the 21-year-old phenomenon can shift her entire focus toward the upcoming Cincinnati Open and the highly anticipated US Open. She departs the blazing hard courts of Toronto no longer viewed as just a promising young challenger, but as a heavily battle-tested champion ready to completely terrorize the sport's absolute elite on the grandest stages imaginable. Eala's jaw-dropping streak may have ended in Toronto, but the shockwave she sent through the tennis establishment will be felt for years. She didn't just win a title, she completely exposed the vulnerabilities of the world's top-ranked superstars and proved a new era has officially arrived. With the US Open looming, the entire sport is on high alert. Will her ankle recover in time to unleash another devastating run, or was this a one-time phenomenon? We will be closely tracking her every single move. If you want to stay ahead of the biggest untold stories in sports, hit subscribe to our channel and drop a comment below on what you think Eala will do next.